And we are live. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock. It is Sunday, April 21st. I hope everybody enjoyed their holiday yesterday. I'm Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Eric Lindquist. We're brought to you by Prize Picks. We've got another 4-game NBA slate ahead of us. First 4 games in these series. It's the best weekend for the NBA. I hate that it landed on Saturday and Sunday because I did not see much NBA yesterday, but I will today. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and follow us both on Twitter. What's good, man?
Not my hike getting canceled last night. I was gonna have a very, very fun day, and then sad face. There was no rain either, so I don't really know why everything happened the way that it did. But you know what? I hope you had a great 420 yourselves, my friends. And the NBA was fantastic yesterday. It's just good to have playoff basketball back in our lives.
Yeah.
It's something that over the last month and a half, you and I have talked a lot about, where it's just like, my God, what are we doing projecting some of these hooligans? It's fun to have meaningful things that you're putting into your spreadsheet, meaningful minutes for a lot of guys, and then finding points of differentiation, which yesterday was fun. I had a ton of Mitchell Robinson, but didn't end up getting paid out for it. 30 minutes for him to Isaiah Hartenstein's 18. They get it done against Philly. Anything else that you had like as a major takeaway from yesterday before we get into today?
All I know is who won. I legit didn't watch basically a single second of anything. I turned on the Knicks Sixers game for about a minute, but when I'm off on Saturdays, I really just am not around for any of it, which
It's fair. Because
is
marriage is
whatever.
good. Marriage is important.
Yeah, we did a bunch of shit around the house. We had
Nice.
some stuff going on. Had to slowly but surely work on getting the pool ready for this coming weekend, so that wasn't fun.
Went to Home Depot. Lots to do.
Yeah, that's basically exactly what was going on.
I get
Um,
that.
it's nice to see that you made it here after Joval.
Why? Why would you do that right off the bat?
I'm just saying.
Here's the thing is humility is an important part of life, and sometimes I don't always practice it enough. So it was good to get that lesson in it right from the get-go. I saw what was going to happen before it happened. As soon as the game tipped off, I said, what have I done? I just basically X'd out a 1.3 DraftKings points per minute player who potentially was going to play 30 minutes or something of that nature. Now, I am of the belief that he was only going to play 21 if Larry Nance doesn't get hurt there, and potentially they just end up closing with it. But even still, in 21 minutes, those 21 minutes, he had 44 DraftKings points. So that will go down in infamy as potentially one of my worst decisions here, and we move on.
He didn't do anything wrong there. Um,
He ended
people are
up
gonna
lower owned than I thought he was going to be for what it's
pe-
worth.
people are gonna jerk it off because it succeeded, but he was still negative when he was on the floor. Larry Nance was an aggressive positive.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what you sort of expect in those spots. Like they are going to hemorrhage points when Joval is on the floor. The only way to offset that is if he gets every single offensive rebound and gets every single putback. And that's how it played out in that spot. But they couldn't stop them when Joval was on the floor. It wasn't going well while he was out there, no matter what his individual stats say. It went so much better for Larry Nance. So yeah, it got there, but it didn't have to. Like there was a path where like if that first rotation doesn't go as well, it looks so much different. What are
I'm
you
in
gonna do?
shambles, but yes, yeah. What are you going to do? Again, I made a calculated decision. It went very, very poorly, and the best part about DFS is now we have today. So I have lots of time throughout these playoffs to rectify that mistake, or lack thereof mistake. More so, just didn't go well for me. How about that?
All right. Let's start breaking this bad boy down.
Yeah.
If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do so. Let's talk payups for today. We have one guy that's the true payup. 12K Luka Doncic. The next closest guy in salary is $2,400 away for Shea. So let's start just with Luka first, and then we'll look at this like high 8K, low 9K range. How do you want to handle Luka Doncic today as a complete outlier to the rest of the salary structure?
This may sound weird, but it completely depends. I've gone back and forth a couple of times. Again, sometimes we get in the habit of saying, "Oh, I need to have this major stand on this guy," or "I need to have a take," and that's not really the case. I currently have 18% of him playing 50 lineups. I'm okay with having that allotment for it. I would assume we're getting more than the 36, 37 minutes that we've seen here at times. I mean, this game is the second out of the gate, so you kind of need to make a couple of those decisions. But I think some of it's going to depend on how my lineups are doing with Miami, Boston. There's some appealing pieces in a game that, otherwise might not seem all that appealing to other people from the outside looking in. I think we all expect Boston to go and handle their business. They're 14-point, 15-point favorites in just about everything. But there's some contrarian pieces from that game. Like, there's nobody pulling any ownership from it. And if a couple of those plays go well, I think I don't necessarily have to get into as much of like a 9-10% Luka Doncic, but we'll see. I right now am okay with this allotment. If I ended up with around 20%, I think I would be just fine with that. But there's no doubt that amongst everybody else on this slate, if you get the value right, it's helpful to have the guy who projects for 15 more fantasy points than everybody else. So I don't have a crazy stand of any sort right now, just about double the field, but don't think I'm going to change too much with that. Is there anything you're seeing with it? Because like we do have Halliburton, who's crazy popular. We have Dame, who's pretty darn popular. We have Kyrie Irving, who, is, I think, a fun contrarian piece to be getting to if we ramp up the minutes, and, playoff Kyrie seems fun. But anything you're specifically doing? Because there's no doubt he projects better than everybody else.
Yeah. So we have him 14% opt, or last poll that I had, 14% optimal, 9% owned. I don't imagine that changed all that much. I have about 10%, or I have exactly 10% right now. So I'm right at the field. That's kind of how I feel about it. Like if I have the extra salary to get to him, because you're clearly changing your construction up quite a bit to slot him in. If I have that salary, great. I'm not mad to get to him. But at the same time, I really do like this 9K, high 8K, low 9K range. Well, more than 9K range than anything else, because I think those guys are all like a bit underpriced, whereas Luka is sort of closer to his real price, because now SGA, Tatum, Lillard, like these guys are going to play a couple extra minutes in comparison to what they normally do. Whereas Luka's sort of playing extra minutes, but not as much relative speaking. And he's still all the way up at 12K. Whereas like SGA and Tatum in the playoffs should probably be 10K players at this point, and or Dame with, no Giannis. If he's playing 40 minutes, he's probably a 10K guy, relatively speaking. We're just not seeing any real ownership going to this top unless we start talking about Tyrese Halliburton. So I think we're done on Luka. Single-digit ownership to Shea, single-digit ownership to Tatum, barely over 10% for Kyrie at 8,600, 20 to Dame, 33 to Tyrese Halliburton. Let's use 8,500 Bam and up to Shea here in this range. I'm just going to pose it to you this way, since we have an outlier. What are you doing with Tyrese Halliburton? I'm going to give you my lead right here. I don't have him.
I'm with you. I'm half the field. I'm not fading him at 8,800, but I will say that this is more appealing for me to embrace what everybody else is seeing and kind of just flipping the script on it. I like Jason Tatum a lot. I said I was going to get to some contrarian pieces from this very first game out the gate. Kind of going to know how my day stands with Jason Tatum being 3x. I've got 30% of him. I think one of the things I had to rearrange my brain with yesterday was you come from the play-in tournament where you're over projecting guys' minutes. And now we're kind of moderating it back. We're getting back to like a level keel area, but you go over the last month and a half, and the Celtics were just screwing around. And Jason Tatum here, come playoff time, I do expect him and Brown to just do the alpha thing here going up against Miami. They're massive favorites, but I do think Jason Tatum, nobody wants to play him in a 209.5 total game. We have the 230, 231.5 Indy Milwaukee one. We've got Dallas LAC that I think is going to be pretty appealing to get to certain pieces from. And then New Orleans OKC, for all intents and purposes, I guess that's second in line in totals. But I do think Tatum's the guy that, because we haven't seen him play 38, 40 minutes in forever, it feels like, I think this is the appealing time to potentially be early to the party. Now, he got priced up to the 9,400 number that is more indicative of what his playoff role will be. So shout out DraftKings for that. But I think Tatum's really, really appealing at small forward, power forward. We're going to be able to get to value pieces. I think Tyler Hero on the other side of this game, somebody that I have quite a bit of, even at 8,100 for him relative to the field. That is not like he's one of my highest owned pieces, but I think getting to Tatum is more appealing now that we've reached the postseason than what he's been throughout the entire regular season. I don't think he's been somebody I've made this kind of a stand on like this in forever.
No disagreement. I'm 2xing on Tatum right now. happy to have it, but I didn't stop at Tatum. I have 30% of SGA. I have 50 of Dame, who I think is in a really
Yeah.
nice spot against the Pacers here, especially with no Giannis around. So I'm getting to all of that 9K range. Heavy exposure to SGA, heavy enough exposure for Jason Tatum, heavy exposure to Damian Lillard, and then just not taking the roughly 30% ownership to Tyrese Halliburton. That to me seems like the way to get different. Pay up a little bit more to grab all of the half as owned at best guards that are, above him. If you're going to give me the opportunity to get SGA at 8% and Halliburton at 28%, I'm just going to take SGA and flip flop those guys and make it feel a little bit different for me. So I think that's where I'm getting most different. I'm just sort of remixing the pay up options.
I'm worried that Dame ends up more popular for what it's worth. I'm very worried we get to a 30% Dame come the flip, but maybe that's just me. 8,800 Tyrese Halliburton come playoff time here too. I guess this just depends also on what you want to do with TJ McConnell, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but like TJ McConnell at 5,100, he's been playing 20-ish minutes every night for the last however long, and he's played so well that I don't know how you necessarily take those minutes away. So like I do think there's like not a hard cap. They've been playing Halliburton alongside McConnell more and more, but 8,800 Halliburton I think will be popular for sure, but I'm worried that Dame gets a little bit extra coming his direction too. Massive spike in assist rate, massive usage bump, going to be competing with Middleton minutes. Now Middleton on the other side going to be I'm curious what you're going to do with your boy as we work down the board, because I think he's one of the more appealing plays on the entire slate. Small forward only, though. I'm just worried about Dame, just throwing that one out there. I'm currently right around the field on him. Harden, I think I'm going to be right around the field on him. Holding hands with a lot of guys here, except for double Luka, triple Tatum, and then basically have no Bam Adebayo at the moment, which is terrifying as well, considering I talked about liking contrarian pieces from that game and playing the hero side of it again over Bam, where it could just as easily flip flop, and now it's Bam on triple double watch.
I'm nervous about guys like TJ McConnell, who, since you mentioned him, I just want to talk it through, because there's a lot of dudes like that where he's live to just be played mostly out of the rotation today. The floor spacing is a real problem when he's out there. It helps that Miles Turner and Jalen Smith can both, or at least will both, space the floor and shoot, but he is a complete and utter zero from a shooting perspective. I wouldn't, they're going to pick on him. He's active defensively, but they're going to pick on him in a pretty big way over and over again, just spamming pick and rolls if he's out there. I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe not today, but throughout this series, you see his minutes just incrementally fall, because I don't know if he can support being out there. You don't usually see that in game one, but you might by game three.
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton, before he got hurt, was like a 20th percentile defender on dunks and threes. He's up to 40th percentile, so he at least improved that portion of it. If what you're saying is right, yeah, then I'm in a lot of trouble more than likely. But TJ McConnell, been around 45th percentile. He is only 6'2", so a little bit of a height discrepancy between him and Halliburton. But I think from the get-go in a game one, they probably still just do the normal, maybe 16 minutes, 18 minutes here for TJ McConnell, which at 5,100 doesn't matter. I guess for me, the main thing is that he's still a really good fantasy point per minute player. He's not starting. He won't get a ton of attention relative to some of the other 5K players that I think people are going to click on a little bit more. And looks like they're definitely clicking on, and, the Brook Lopez's of the world and things of that nature. But I'm definitely going to keep that in mind. But I think the fantasy point per minute rate is at least appealing enough for me for a game one today before it really gets into crunch time to still have a decent allotment of him.
Yeah, my only concern, and it's not even just for TJ, it's those swing dudes that play the 18 to 23 minutes or whatever during the regular season, and finding out if they are now a fixture of the playoff rotation or the guy that's going to get trimmed for somebody else that fits a playoff rotation a little bit more. That's going to be the key piece there. But yeah, game one, I think it ends up being a little bit different here. Anything else you want to touch on for some of these pay-ups? I think we walked through Halliburton and the rest of those 9K guys. Do you have anything you want to say for the 8K range?
Yeah, Kyrie Irving, I think, is a really fun piece at 8,600. You're going to see a ton of ownership coming in on Dame, Halliburton. SGA is pretty under-owned. So again, I like your stand there. I'm probably not going to change too much with mine, but I do think Kyrie with the shooting guard eligibility and everybody's going to have the Luka Doncic narrative. He destroys the Clippers. Well, Kyrie Irving's destroyed a lot of basketball teams, and come playoff time,
Yes,
if you
he
see
has.
a fucking Boston especially. But I definitely think Kyrie Irving walking into 37, 38 minutes, a guaranteed run in a Clippers spot. They're only 3-point favorites here, and I think it's going to be a pretty darn competitive game. I think Kyrie, he's there to help like loosen the load for Luka, and why not take shots on him at low ownership now, sub 9K? Because if he comes out and he's going to be performing at like a 1.4 fantasy point per minute rate here in the playoffs, 1.35 alongside Luka, obviously that would be a step up, but like I got to expect him and Luka to do absolutely everything the way that they have been all season long. And if it becomes something where the Clippers and Ty Lue, they basically sell out to try to stop Luka or keep the ball out of his hands, Kyrie Irving is going to have a massive game. And so 8,600 for him. I like the positionality, having the shooting guard eligibility there. And I just think, considering we're getting tons of ownership on Paul George at 8K, somebody who's going to be a mainstay in my lineups, I like having a little bit of something to come along for the ride. Luka, I'm not going to go crazy with the way that I might if we had better value, but Kyrie Irving, I think he's at least very, very interesting. I don't find Bam all that interesting today.
Same.
Again, I wish I did. I wish I did. So this is obviously the game that he goes for 60.
I'm not really getting to Kyrie. I wouldn't mind it if I did. I just have so much more of that 9K range that I'm not really getting to much in that 8K range. I'm neutral to Harden. I'm a little bit over on Paul George. So we're gonna be on the same side for Paul George there. But in lieu of Kyrie, I'm getting Dame. I'm getting SGA. So it's all the same to me. Like, I don't look at those guys any different. I don't want one of those dudes more than the other. I like the ownership that's coming into Kyrie Irving. I'd be happy to be over if I was. I'm just not.
Yeah, I think there's one piece coming up later that I'm just higher on than it would appear the field is in a pretty prominent way from the Clippers side. And
Okay.
God, he's eating
You
up
like
a lot
Amir
of my
Coffee
point there.
too?
Yeah, that's the guy. That's exactly who it was. I have a
Is it
Russell
really?
Westbrook one today.
Oh,
No,
okay.
fuck
I
no.
really do have Amir Coffee.
Oh, you do? I have a Russell Westbrook problem in a pretty prominent way at the moment.
So did the Clippers.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't at this
Yeah.
point. But
I get. Look,
yeah.
he's like the TJ McConnell of the Clippers.
Well, look at the ownership that we have coming in on Dort and Mann and Amir Coffey, your boy. 3,300. I at least like getting down to the doldrums and having Amir Coffey, who is a terrible point per minute player. Not like you don't know that, but 22, 23, 24 minutes of him would be pretty appealing at 3,300 relative to those 4K chalk pieces. So for me, I'm pretty aggressively getting into the 5K range to try to just make my stand there with Zoo, with Lopez, with J-Val, Daniel Gafford. I mean, I just have all of these guys, these centers that are all 5K, just rotating them through lineups. And then Russell Westbrook, he's eating up a lot of point guard for me at the moment too in my 50s. So yeah, it's an uncomfortable feeling for sure, but point guard for me, the 9K range, I'm basically holding hands with a lot of them, making stands elsewhere.
All right, let's get these super chats out of the way. 57 Ski sent it twice. Don't know why he deleted the first one for the same one, but we'll take it. How do we feel about Dort? I like him. 4,200, should play north of 30 minutes. I'm actually 2xing the field right now.
Yeah, Dort's one of the guys that I would say doesn't fall into that range. Like Patrick Beverly and Dort, I think are two 4K pieces that I just think you have and you
Yep.
play because the minutes. Like for me,
Yep.
I'll take the minutes over trying to get cute with, what exactly is going to happen with Aaron Nesmith sucks on this slate. I hate Aaron Nesmith. I have gone back and forth what I want to do with him, 4,800, but Dort, 4,200, position that's more difficult to fill than the average bear, other than Middleton, who I have a lot of. Feel pretty good about Dort.
And then you know the deal. Ace of Spades, DK
Yep.
tiers. You ready?
Yep.
I'm not. Luka, Giannis, Tatum,
Luka.
Lillard.
Luka. Good time.
Yeah. It's obviously Giannis is not real, but he's there. Halliburton, Kyrie, Kawhi, Bam.
It is Halliburton.
I have Tyrese Halliburton and Kyrie Irving with the exact same projection.
And you're playing the more expensive guy.
No, I have
you're
zero
playing less.
Halliburton.
You have zero of Halliburton. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that for you. But yeah, then let's go Kyrie then. That's my boy today. I love Kyrie today.
Yeah, either Kyrie or Halliburton. I assume Halliburton will be the more owned dude
Yes.
there, so that could be a decent place to get a little bit different. If you're already taking Luka in one, then probably a little bit less likely to want to take Kyrie there over Halliburton in tier two, but it's the game theory of it all. Harden, George, Brown, Porzingis, Hero.
It is Paul George for me.
It is Paul George by a tenth of a point for me.
Over Harden?
Over Harden.
Yeah.
Tier 4, Siakam, Ingram, Holmgren, McCollum, White, Middleton.
This is Ingram for me.
This is Siakam for me.
It's fine.
Ingram would be second. We're about to talk about one of my favorite plays today. Jalen Williams, Miles Turner, Drew Holiday, Josh Giddey, Zubats, Murphy, Portis.
Williams not close. Actually, no, Portis not close. I'm a liar. I'm a liar and a thief.
It is Portis in tiers. It is not Portis in DFS for me. That
Correct.
would be Jalen Williams. We'll have that conversation in a bit. And then finally, tier 6, Joval, Gafford, Lopez, Washington, Westbrook, Horford, Herb Jones, Jaime Jaquez.
Gafford.
Brook Lopez.
I'm curious. Do you think Derek Lively plays more than like 15 minutes today?
I think it gets pretty tricky here with those guys. I think Gafford could play upwards of 30. I think they can keep these guys split. I think they could finally start to unearth more minutes for Maxey, which is, I think, what they want to do, I think, is get enough rim protection out of PJ Washington and Maxey. I don't know how healthy Maxey's going to be, but like everything, it's going to sound dumb, but everything for Dallas hinges upon can Tyrese Maxey. Can Maxey Kleba be healthy enough to play 24 minutes a night in the playoffs or more? Because they need him more than anything.
Correct. And I mean, he is a defensive Swiss Army knife and capable of knocking down a shot or two, whereas Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively feel like you're playing the same dude. It's like the Spider-Man meme to a certain extent, but this defensive lineup, I keep looking at everything on Twitter or X talking about this has been the number one defensive lineup over the last month. Luka, Kyrie, Josh Green, if it ends up being Derek Jones, but whatever. PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. It's been the number one defensive team for a month, which is weird.
Well, we broke down all the potential pay-up options. We talked about Lou Dort. We talked about our favorite plays in each tier, but now we have to talk about the most important part of today.
No, it's not.
Who is going to be Eric's exotic play of the day?
Good Lord. It never gets better.
It's better every time. It's the best.
For you.
It's the absolute best. The absolute best. I'm really curious. I haven't sorted my exposure yet by
white boy.
By that. So hit me with it. Who you got?
All right, friends. Well, in the interest of I'm playing Daniel Gafford because I think he's more likely to play 28, 30 minutes than not. He's obviously not falling into the exotic category. It's got to be the guy that I expect to be on the other side of this one, playing lots of minutes, who I'm making a large stand on. My very first 100K win, he is solely responsible for a 55 burger in a Lakers uniform that made me the happiest exotic man on the entire planet. So as such, I must pay him his respects. Lord Ivica Zubats, your exotic play of the night. Give me 30 here for Mr. Zoo. Crank that soul. Hey, what?
That's not the direction that I went. I think that's interesting, though. Got to represent your boy if he puts some money in your pocket. I don't have a lot of options. I really don't. So I'm going to the dude that is making his playoff debut today on a team that I am very interested to see work through this playoffs. I hope they can take it easy here, get even more rest after a quick sweep of this garbage Pelicans team. So what up, Chet? Thank you for being today's white of the night.
It's technically afternoon, but yes, go ahead.
Whites come out at night. 9:30 game.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. It is evening. Yeah, he would be of the night.
Yes.
There you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So both centers, and I love Chet today too. So I like that.
Everybody above Chet for me is not a viable selection. So I had to Chet is my 13th most exposed dude. It gets bleak in the playoffs, man. We're in trouble.
We'll be okay because we'll always have Porzingis to lean on the
We're
entire
not
rest of the way.
we're not typically a playoffs type team unless you and I are going to select Jokic every day for the next 2 months.
Well, I said Zinger. Zinger's going to be available to us the
Yeah,
entire way.
that's fair. But he's always
Yeah.
going to be like, muddled in this Celtics team that has like 12 other options.
Yeah, he'll go off one time the entire postseason. He'll go for 45, and that'll just be the day that we obviously don't pick him because he'll be going head to head with Jokic. So yeah, I'm with you. Good times.
Promo code playoffs, baby. What are you looking for at either Stochastic or Eric? I'm going to ask you this because I don't know right now. Is the Odd Shopper one still going?
No, it was done on Saturday, I thought.
Well, don't use it on Odd Shopper, everybody. Can't do that. You were too slow to the draw for $1 of Odd Shopper, but you're not too slow for 50% off of a Sims Weekly Max package. NBA is here. We have really awesome slates in the first round of the playoffs. This is really sort of peak NBA to me when you can get these like 3 and 4 gamers with a lot of detail. It makes it sort of like a showdown, but with a little bit more information. I love playing these size slates in that first round. You guys can do it too with the best tools in the industry: projections, ownership, boom, bust, contest generator, lineup generator, Discord, and more. 50% off using the promo code playoffs. This is going to go away shortly, guys. Take advantage. It might go away today, honestly. I don't have the date in front of me. We should add that to the sheet moving forward, the on-air production meeting. Use it. Come join us. Promo code is playoffs. The tools are awesome. Who are your GPP plays? This is where it starts to get weird. I got a bunch of dudes that I have a pretty sizable stand on. And for the most part, every name that I see is a name that I want to be getting to. This 15 to 20% owned range, I'm like 2 to 3xing these guys, and I like every bit of it.
Yeah, so Miles Turner, first one. I just am overweight to, I feel like, 5 centers today. I think it's a pretty great slate to just get into this mid-range of centers and play a lot of these dudes. You're going to get somebody popping for 45, 50 in a lot of these spots, and 6,400 there for Indy. Against Milwaukee, it's not the best matchup against Brook Lopez, but Miles Turner and Brook Lopez can both step outside and have some fun. And one is inconceivably higher owned than the other one. Actually, conceivably, because Brook Lopez is a great play at 5,300, and I have quite a bit of him, but not 43% like we had in our last run. I like getting to TJ McConnell. I know that you don't, but I think this is a good game one situation for TJ McConnell at 5,100. Good fantasy point per minute player. And if I'm going to get away from some of the crazy ownership that exists at point guard today, or, I think Dame ends up higher owned. If he doesn't, I'm going to be in shambles. But definitely think that getting to him makes some sense. And then I love Norman Powell, 4,500 for him as well. Talked about the 4K range. There's some uncomfortable pieces that exist there that I think are pretty sketchy, but I think by far the guy that I'm the most confident and comes out there and is offensively forward is Norman Powell, going to play around 28, 30 minutes in most game scripts here, and it is only just a 3-point spread. So those are 3 guys that I have pretty sizable stands on. Norman Powell in half my lineups right now.
Norman Powell, my number 1 GPP play. He's in 56% of my stuff. I might work that back a little bit when I submit my final lineups because I don't know if I need that big of a stand, but I'm right there with you. He's the top guy in this list. I have 4 guys where I'm 30% or higher than the field. Norm Powell is at the top of that list. Number 2, I absolutely love today, especially for what's around him. I have 48% of Jalen Williams at 6,700. Kind of talked about it a little bit before. Bobby Portis is 6,600. Jalen Williams is 6,700. One of those guys is 65% owned. The other is 13.5. Even if we want to think that those are a little bit closer than they should be, Jalen Williams, maybe Portis is 58 and Jalen Williams is 18. I think that gap is too big for what we're getting here. There's no reason that I expect Jalen Williams to play more minutes than Bobby Portis. Is Bobby Portis a slightly better per minute guy? Yeah, absolutely. But that gap is massive to me, and I don't really think that it should be that huge. So I'm taking a lot of the ownership from Portis and going to Jalen Williams. Is Portis a great cash play? Yeah. One of the first dudes you're putting in. Looks exceptional. But if he's in 65% of lineups, I've got a guy right next to him that I think I can pivot to very easily.
I kind of love that. Again, these are the nice things about doing shows with you where it's like, oh, I've thought about that, but yet I was playing right around half, like just a little bit less than 50% Bobby Portis, where I wasn't going to get to 65% of him by any means, because it seems like every time that Giannis is out, he's going in a boxing match with Mirotic and he's just going to knock the shit out of somebody. Bobby Portis has just been outrageous in a couple of these situations of late. But again, you look at it on the whole, Jalen Williams should be playing more minutes than Bobby Portis. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, the argument is definitely Bobby Portis' fantasy rate without Giannis on the floor, but I think I'm with you where you want to be higher on the Jalen Williams piece than you do Bobby Portis for sure. Although if you're making one lineup, I think playing both is more than viable.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and I don't ever want these things to sound like I don't think Bobby Portis is a good play. He is, but you have to make some changes somewhere else to be a little bit more different. I'm using Portis as that pivot point for a lot of my stuff. The other two guys that I have north of more than 30% over the field are Dame, who we already talked about, and then $6,400 Miles Turner. I assume Turner steps into an extra 2-3 minutes now. He's been playing 27 or 28 basically all season. I'm going to go with the assumption that when you start corralling these playoff rotations, you get a couple extra minutes of Miles Turner, a couple less of Jalen Smith / Isaiah Jackson. I also would not be surprised at all to see them go to Siakam at the 5 in situations here, particularly when Brook Lopez is off the floor, or even when he's on the floor, honestly. But those are the 4 guys that I have like my big GPP stands on.
Yeah. You said Heat lineup. Yeah, I think it was the normal 5 that I saw. Hero, Martin, Jaquez, Jovic, the normal 5 for post Jimmy Butler world.
Yeah. So that's where we're going in terms of my GPP plays, your GPP plays. We have about 27 minutes to go until we get to lock. Anybody else that's catching your eye? Like, I've got a pretty decent amount of SGA over the field who's sub 10% owned. I'm over the field on Paul George, who's actually getting a decent chunk of ownership. I'm 2xing Andrew Nembhard and Nikola Jovic right now. I don't have takes on that. Nembhard is the guy that I would want if the TJ McConnell thought process plays out. Less TJ McConnell is probably going to mean more Andrew Nembhard. Whether or not that's happening, I don't know. But that's the way that I'm playing it right now. So I hope that shakes out correctly. But TJ could just as easily play 22 minutes today and it won't even matter.
Yeah, I'm Russell Westbrook we talked about there. This feels like a spot where, again, 18, 19 minutes, but with no Kawhi out there, there's going to be him and Norman Powell, I think, in that second unit, Amir Coffey. I think they're going to be stepping into all of the minutes. Like, things would have to get really, really off the beaten path to see any Bones Highland in this series. Russell Westbrook playing 24 minutes on a high end potentially could be really, really fun in this spot. Come playoff time, I don't know. There's a part of me that just knows that Russell Westbrook, and I mean, we're projecting for absolutely no ownership whatsoever, but it is a piece of differentiation, just a point guard to get a little bit different and could be that fantasy hero off the bench out of the middle of nowhere. But not anything that I want to just say, hey, you need to go jam yourself 5.5% own Russell Westbrook. He has positive leverage going his direction. I currently have 24% of him. It is a disturbing play.
I can't cheer for him. I have a little bit of him, but I can't cheer for him. I just want him to get played off the floor and played out of the league sooner rather than later. I hope they only chant Westbrook at him until he has a panic attack. It's all of it. I can't stand him.
Hell?
Everything. He's so soft, man.
I know.
If you can't go to a game and call him Westbrick, it's very basketball related. You gotta stop being so soft, man.
Is Jay Crowder somebody you're playing at all?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
3,600. So we haven't talked about like sub 4K guys. I feel like that's something we didn't talk about.
Yeah, let's do it.
Last couple. I think we both are in agreement. Amir Coffey's the best 3,300 player by projection. And then I think Jay Crowder, Pat Connaughton is at least a conversation come playoff time, what they're going to do. I feel like figuring out if you can get to one of these guys that plays a little bit more, Jay or Connaughton, you're probably in a good spot. It really has more to do with the game environment. I mean, we know what Indy is capable of doing to any team in any spot. They're second in pace this season. They've been playing ludicrous speed with Tyrese Halliburton. And I think finding value there that isn't just Pat Beverly could bear fruit, but Pat Connaughton, Jay Crowder, not sure if you were getting either of them.
I have 10% of Crowder. I don't have any of Connaughton, but one of those guys is probably stepping into a couple more minutes than like you expect. They don't seem to be big fans of Malik Beasley.
No, they are not, because Malik Beasley, if he isn't making shots, is a terrible person. So you can live with him being a terrible person if he's making shots. But 26 minutes for Malik, 24, 25 for Jay Crowder, 23 for Pat Connaughton for me. I think, yeah, just taking shots on Crowder and Connaughton in around 10, 12%. Again, they're guys that are pulling absolutely no ownership. Crowder's up to 8%, so there's something there. I'm going to get a little bit of Connaughton in my life here too. But again, these are just large field plays, and trying to find something sub 4K that looks appealing, that isn't just, hey, Amir Coffey, he's 3,300. Let's go. Joy. I can't wait to roster a 0.6 fantasy point per minute player in like 35% of my lineups.
DC24 with the super chat said, do you like Jaquez or Martin today for Miami on DraftKings? I don't really like either of them, and I have the exact same amount of both, but Jaquez is more popular.
Jaquez is more popular. Do I have any Martin? Let's see. I have one share of Martin. I have
6% of both of them.
Jaquez I have 12% of, so there's that. But yeah, as you said, he's more popular.
Yeah. They're just kind of dudes today. I mean, it's really tough to like anything on Miami today.
Agreed.
They are the second lowest owned team, I think.
Yeah, I like Tyler Hero, 8,100, but again, I'm getting a little bit freaky with that one just because I mean, it's getting to more Tatum. I have a ton of Tatum, and if this game somehow stays close, him and Hero probably the reasons why. They're Hero probably the reason why in some capacity, him or Bam. But I am, let's see. Yeah, it's come down over the show here as we've talked about stuff. But yeah, Jaquez is the guy that I have the most not named Tyler Hero. So 12% of Jaime Jaquez, 18% Tyler Hero.
Next super chat. Freshka. Favorite plays on FanDuel. Just got here. Thanks. We've got a pack of 5 dudes pulling 50+% ownership. Trey Murphy, Bobby Portis, Pascal Siakam, Aaron Nesmith, James Harden. I think you're building a lineup that probably has 4 of those dudes in it pretty regularly. Maybe swap out one of them. We've got Brooke Lopez and Paul George, both north of 45% owned. Seems like Brooke Lopez is going to be the main center that you're trying to get to on the FanDuel side. But something in that Murphy, Portis, Siakam, Nesmith, Harden group of 5, 4 of those dudes probably need to be in just about everything you're building right out of the gate.
What do you make of Herb Jones minutes last time? Because I am scared shitless that I'm like on right. FanDuel. Say that again.
I don't get that dude right.
I don't know what happened to instigate 24 minutes, but that came from absolutely nowhere. 26 minutes is what it ended up being. 24 when I stopped looking because I was in so much pain. But FanDuel goes along with our sponsor Prize Picks in terms of the fantasy scores. So it's always something that I'm paying attention to and running out myself based on our projections. And Herb Jones is routinely somebody that we and myself like a lot more than the field does. I think on FanDuel today, 5,700, he's an awesome GPP play yet again. It was one game to rule them all. It was kind of a strange spot where you needed to have the size, I guess, for JVal and specifically just to take care of Sabonis to some extent here. But it's got me very, very gun shy on Herbert Jones, what I should be doing there, because he had a couple of those turnovers early and it just seems like they just went away from him as a result.
I only have 4%, so I assume he smashes today.
Awesome.
Whenever I either have huge stands on him or I don't have him at all. And it feels like when I don't have him at all, those are the good days. And when I do have him, those are definitely not the good days.
Good deal. Yeah, I've normally been on the right side with him. And then whatever the hell happened in the play-in tournament happened. And he just burned me back to back in a pretty prominent way. So I didn't really see anything watching it other than, again, he had some bad turnovers early in that game last time around. And Willie just basically just gave him the hook immediately there, came back in, had his normal start in the third quarter, and Again, 26 minutes in an elimination game is not what I expected from the best defensive player on the team. We'll put it that way.
Well, we've reached a point in time. We have one more super chat to hit on 57 Ski. Thoughts on Alvarado? Let's get that one out of the way.
None. I have none, I don't think.
I have 2 lineups. Just a guy.
Yep. I have 0, and I know why you're going there. I played a ton of him during the play-in tournament. 4-game slate, I'm playing more McConnell. And then also just the existence of Norman Powell, Lou Dort. Like the 4K range for me is pretty clear-cut. I'm playing the better plays.
Which player are you playing that is going to be the man that sets off the bomb, that blows your ding-dong clear off your body? Who is going to be the nuke of the night? We got a new run of everything about 2 minutes ago. So if you're looking to like do one final blast, this is probably the one.
I would like that. All right, friends. My friends, it is Kyrie Irving season. 8,600. This is a player I'm pretty confident does not get steamed up unless something I say here makes some sense to you. But Kyrie Irving had an awesome, very, very quietly amazing season. 10.4 estimated win share, 41.1% from 3 on the season, 90% free throw shooter, which he always has been throughout his entire career. This guy is just special. Kyrie Irving is just a different breed of human being, and it seems like they made the floor spacing with him and Luka work. I mean, they just figured out everything that needed to happen there. Jason Kidd, I don't know what I think about him as a coach still, but there is no doubt that they brought in Kyrie Irving for a reason. It didn't look good for half a season, and everybody lost their mind. But now come playoff time, it is going to be all of these 2 dudes. And if one guy is getting sold out on, Luka Doncic feels like the guy that's going to be getting sold out on here for the Clippers. And Kyrie Irving should just absolutely smash in the early portion of this series. So Kyrie Irving, I'm pretty darn confident we see nearly 30% usage for him here. He's been down to 27.6%, the lowest mark of his entire NBA career this season. Makes complete sense playing next to Luka, but still a guy who's going to have around a 24, 23% assist rate. Still a guy who's unbelievably efficient in the looks that he does get. And you go from 35 to maybe 38 minutes, 39 minutes in this spot. Kyrie Irving, contrarian piece in the 8K range, your nuke of the night.
I like it. I've talked about this guy a lot. We talked about him in reference to Bobby Portis, but I want to go to the guy that I think is the second best dude on the Oklahoma City Thunder and what I think is a pretty good matchup for him. Had some time to get right, get a little bit of rest over this past week or so, before, while they haven't had to play any games. Jalen Williams, the man that probably should be the guy that wins most improved player this year, but isn't winning that award. He is the nuke of the night for today. He's the guy that changes the pace of everything that you're doing today. And we close out the night with him. So I'm going to wait until 9:30 tonight to have half of my lineups get the 50 fantasy points he's about to score. Yeah, I said it.
Screenshot life is always the best at the end of the night. It doesn't really matter in the afternoon.
No, it does not. It does not.
That's what I heard.
But based on the amount of OKC that I'm going to be playing, I think a lot of my lineups are not going to be near the top of the contest until that game is about halfway done.
Yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about right.
Shout out to Prize Picks, sponsor of this show. Very easy for me to talk about Prize Picks. I do a Prize Picks video every day during the week when we have basketball. You can deposit up to $100. They will match that deposit. And it's just sort of the gold standard of these pick'em sites. They have everything you could possibly want across the board. I'm giving out 2 NBA plays just about every day. We did it for the entire NBA season. Profitable, I might add. So you guys should be watching that video every day on the Odd Shopper channel. Do you put out any Prize Pick stuff now?
Yeah, I do shorts over on TikTok and then for the YouTube channel where I'm putting out my shorts. Had a pretty ridiculous record during the regular season. Was hitting right around 70% over the 2.5 months that I was doing it there, which sounds like a made up number. But it just, we went on an unbelievable heater. It was beautiful stuff. But yeah, no, I know that a lot of people have been sending me cards of like combining your plays with my plays and my plays with your plays. And it's been pretty darn profitable this entire season. So happy to be a part of the Prize Pick streets.
You guys can join up and use Odd Shopper while you're doing it to get a ton of additional plays throughout the day. on Prize Picks. All you have to do is click the link in chat or the one in the description of this video. Who are you fading?
Oh,
I got a
God.
couple of these biggies. We've already touched on most of mine.
Yeah, I think we've touched on a lot of mine too. I'm doing hand holding in the 9K range, it would appear. James Harden. I have like 20% James Harden. He is 52% owned here now. I know he's 8,100, but I'm going to go to the Kyrie side of things. I have some hero. And then Paul George, I find to be the chalky play from the Clippers that I would much prefer to get to. I think it also makes sense if I'm going to play a little less Harden, I'm going to play a little bit more Westbrook. Makes sense there. Hami Hawkins is really popular now. I have 12% of him. He is 33.5% owned. Again, I'm doing one more run here before we call it a day, but I am a little appalled to see 33.5% for him at nearly 6K. He's played good. I like him as a rookie. He, kind of ran into the struggle bus with no Jimmy Butler there. There should be an opportunity, shooting guard, small forward, but we have other dudes that I would much prefer to be getting to. Oh, that was FanDuel that I had pulled up there. My apologies. I had the wrong ownership in my sheet.
You're good.
Let me get back to this. So there's no way Hami Hawkins got there.
Rush.
He's 14.1% owned. Okay, so I'm like holding the hands with the field. So I'm just a lying piece of shit. I literally copy and pasted the wrong ownership into my sheet.
We're all not surprised.
Go ahead and talk. Go ahead. All you.
We want to talk fades? Because I've got the hot fades today, guys. I've got the ones that nobody's like, I know what's going to happen, but I'm going a particular direction. And I'm okay with it. So I just finished my final run. I've finished off any tweaks that I have. I basically am not playing Bobby Portis. That is enough right there to just change it up. So I could be dead pretty early. Well, I guess not very early since this one doesn't start till 7. But as of right now, I have 10% of Bobby Portis. Very light. I also don't have a single share of Tyrese Halliburton. That is as light as it gets.
My God.
3 other sizable fades are Pat Bev, Trey Murphy, Chris Middleton.
Fading your boy?
I am.
I can't do
only
it.
12% of Middleton right now.
Sims likes me some Chris Middleton. I got to roll with some Chris Middleton today. Got to do it. The Beverly one is interesting. What are you doing with Beverly?
Not playing him as much as the field, evidently.
There you go. That seems to make sense.
Let me look.
Yeah.
I have 28 and he's 52. Okay. So have him, but not to the extent that I have him in half of my lineups.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm probably going to end up lighter than what we have currently listed for sure, but I am finishing this up now. It helps to have the right ownership from the right site. I forgot we answered the FanDuel question. So when I refresh the boom bust tool, I just stripped the wrong ownership. Nice job, Eric. You're a professional. Yeah, I am going to be just. I have tons of Patrick Beverly right now. I'm gonna have to do something about that after the show. Again, we have plenty of time, but
I don't think it's crazy. I mean, he's gonna play big minutes.
I also have 0 Terrence Mann. I'm not sure what everybody wants to do with Terrence Mann, but let's see. 28.1% ownership. I have 0. So that's going to be an enjoyable experience to watch him put up 50.
I'm neutral on him. So I don't have much of a take here. I'm terrified of the Bobby Portis one is just going to be so fun. Like,
I mean, this is like your Luka play the other day. You just, the other day being like 2 months ago when that happened and he put up 100 in Atlanta. But you're going to know very quickly based on Bobby Portis's first rotation, whether or not you made the right decision. And again, the right decision actually just exists as soon as the ownership shows up, but nobody wants to believe that. So it's going to definitely matter for your feeling about the decision that you made, how he plays in that first rotation, because it's going to be pretty prominent one way or another. He's had so many of these like 22, 7-2 starts in like 12 minutes in first halves lately that it's just, it's mind blowing, actually.
I'm really curious to see it because, like, he's not good defensively. And Dame is obviously not good defensively. Malik Beasley is not good defensively. Balancing those two guys, like, I don't think you could ever have all 3 of them on the floor together without just being Swiss cheese. There's at least a path where Bobby Portis gets, I don't want to say played off the floor because, like, they're going to concentrate those minutes because they don't have choices. But like, there's certainly a path where he plays 26 minutes because they need to play Jay Crowder more.
I would agree with that. I think Jay Crowder you bring in because of playoff time, and Jay Crowder, whether it's the Suns, wherever else he's been, Cleveland, like there are opportunities that he's had to just sit in the corner, stretch the floor. You can't leave him alone if he's knocking down shots. And, that was I mean, that's his calling card. And so you brought him in to do that come playoff time. And I could see a situation too where it's just like, hey, Bobby Portis, you're going to play the minutes that Jalen Smith is out there. You're going to play, exclusively against Jalen Smith because we think Miles Turner is going to own your soul Mortal Kombat style. So I'm probably in line with you there where Bobby Portis, I'm currently right around 50%, just short of it. But there's a world where him and Patrick Beverley, I do a huge rip right before lock.
Yeah, like I want to be very clear. I have Bobby Portis ranked as the second best play on the slate.
Yes.
Just ignoring ownership, ignoring whatever. He's awesome on paper. But the goal is to win the contests. And I think that I can shave off some of my exposure there, go to other guys and give myself a better chance to win. Doesn't have to work out like that. I mean, he's like 40 something percent to hit his target score today. That happens pretty frequently.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Also, Jalen Williams, if he beats out Bobby Portis, you won the debate anyway. So there you go.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see how those minutes play out and how quickly Doc is willing to like pull the plug if defensively they're not there, because they have an opportunity to have 3 giant negatives on the floor at all times. Indy might get to the rack at will.
It is nice, though. I don't normally think about things this way, but it is nice to have Jalen Williams $100 away, where in your mind, it's just like, this is like the third best player on the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's a fantastic basketball player who should be playing as many minutes as humanly possible. I get worried about, Herb Jones' defense at times where, again, I don't think about individual defense ever either, but Jalen Williams, we have him in for 32-ish minutes right now. There's no reason that if this game is competitive that he doesn't play a lot more than that, right? I mean, I would expect
a much bigger minutes projection on Jalen Williams than we do. I have 36.
Oh, there you go. Let me double check here what we had. DFS projections, minutes.
I have a hard time giving any real
we have him for
starters.
30 and a half minutes for Jalen Williams.
I have a hard time not giving real starters 36 minutes in the playoffs.
Yeah, I gave him 33. So I was saying I thought it was 30. We had him at 30 and a half. I do think for a game one, they will rip into Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins. There's a number of ways that they can still go with guys off the bench early, and then they can tighten it down as they go. But I'm also of the belief that Jalen Williams, if he has it going, you're winning a tournament with a Jalen Williams pivot in this kind of a spot. I love that play now.
Mike Shriver, have you understood basketball ever in your life? Like, I see you keep saying like, oh, Jalen Williams is going to be tired, the conditioning. Dude came back after missing 4 games and played 36 minutes in the return. Nobody's been playing for OKC because they kicked the shit out of everybody. Is Shea going to be tired today? Is Josh Giddey going to be tired? Is Lou Dort going to be? All these guys have been playing.
I'm going to be
Jalen
tired.
Williams played 36 minutes in the game that he returned after missing 4 straight games. Yeah, I think he could play 36 in game 1 after taking a week off to recuperate. He didn't lose all of his conditioning in the week while they clinched their 1 seed. Like, you want to tell me he plays 33 or something? That's fine, but he's not. They're not putting the brakes on him because they think he's going to be gassed today.
Yeah, I think not. Hey, go Kyrie Irving.
No, disagree.
Okay. Fuck you. Never mind.
Disagree. Who's the Amber Heard play of the day?
Well, Kyrie probably to some extent. Here's who it probably is. Regardless of how this pans out, it's 2 guys, Paul George and James Harden. I have a lot of one. I don't have the other. You might as well just flip-flop them. So 2, which makes sense because we're talking about number 2, your co-Amber Heard plays of the night, the absolute dunce cap Clippers, Paul George, James Harden.
I mean, Tyrese Halliburton for me, I think is the guy that's most could just thrash me. This Milwaukee defense is next level terrible. If having a little bit of time to get right helped Halliburton here in this stretch, he is going to carve carve Milwaukee up. I could look real dumb if he is the chalkiest play that you can pay up for today, and he just goes out there and plays like he did for the first 3 months of the season.
I look dumb all the time. It's okay.
Yeah. 3 minutes to go before we get to lock. I'm excited for this slate. Let's break it on down. Who are your 5 most exposed plays for today?
I will pull this up here at the moment. There's no doubt that Norman Powell is number 1 for me. Number 2 is Paul George. Number 3 is Daniel Gafford at the moment, which is going to change. I want to throw that out there. That is going to change. Number 4, Brooke Lopez. And number 5, Kyrie Irving.
Damian Lillard, Norm Powell, Brooke Lopez, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams. Those are my top 5 highest exposed dudes.
I don't know what just happened to my Tatum, but he just disappeared. At 15% of him. So there you go.
20 of Tatum, 30 of SGA.
I boosted Jalen Williams. That's what happened.
There you go.
So we were talking about it.
Jalen Williams is going to play 24 minutes. We're going to get this message that comes out at 7:01. Like, Jalen Williams is on a minutes limit. Just hasn't been able to run around enough this past week.
He's tired. He was, chucking on his inhaler at practice. It's perfect.
He's going to need oxygen on the bench. That 22-year-old old man, or however old he is.
Unbelievable, man. Unreal.
Okay, so what do you have in this first game? Miami and Boston. The most I have of anybody is Tatum at 20%. The second most I have is either 10% of Jovic or 10% of Kristaps Porzingis. This is the game that I have the least of by a mile. I actually have less than what we project the public to have.
I have 0 Hawkes now. I took him completely out. I saw that ownership, and then I messed up my sheet. And now, because he was 33% on FanDuel, I have 0% on DK. Don't ask me about anything. I'm stupid. I have 0 Caleb Martin now. I have 0 Bam Adebayo. I got to do this old school. Tyler Hero, I still have a little bit of. My highest owned is Tatum at 15% now. Good talk. 16% technically.
Giannis officially out as of 15 minutes ago. Not that we expected anything else. We're down to the final minute. All right, final question. Who wins each game?
Ooh, who wants that money line parlay here? Well, I also bet Sepp Straka to beat Scotty Scheffler today, so already so
you're taking the Heat?
Yeah, so there you go. I'm a dumb. It is Boston by absolute fatality. I did already bet Dallas. I already bet Indy. And then this New Orleans, Oklahoma City game, I have absolutely no idea. You could just tell me, 8? I'd probably take the points with New Orleans, but I think Oklahoma City wins.
Give me Boston, obviously.
Yeah.
Give me Dallas. No Kawhi is everything.
Yep.
I appear to be a bigger Pacers fan today than the Bucks, but shout out my boy Chris Middleton. Salvage if you can, brother. But I'm going Pacers. So 2 road teams there, and then OKC against the Pels. Pels just don't have enough firepower with no Zion around and whatever Brandon Ingram is right here. So, give me Boston, Dallas, Indy, OKC.
Love it.
And we are locked, man. Game on. This is what we got. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. Anything else you want to add before we dip on out of here?
No, it's going to be a fun day of just sitting on the couch watching NBA and avoiding household chores. So sounds great. Shout out to everybody with a wife out there who will be neglecting theirs as well. Yay.
Have fun, everybody. Shout out to Prize Picks for being the sponsor of this show. Good luck to everybody. Keep your eyes peeled on any news that might pop up. We're not going to know what's going well until 9:30 plus. So it's going to be a long day, but we're going to have some fun. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you later.